The tea has gone cold. I can see the film forming on the surface, a dull, oily skin that breaks when I tilt the cup. Just a little, just enough to see the liquid move against the ceramic. I should get up and pour it out. I should heat the kettle again. But the chair has taken the shape of my back, or perhaps my back has finally surrendered to the shape of the chair, and the effort, the sheer mechanics of standing, of unbending the knees, of walking the 12 steps to the kitchenette. It seems like a journey across a desert, so I sit. I sit and I look at the window. Not through the window, really, just at it. At the reflection of this room in the dark glass, and beyond that, the faint gray outline of the building across the air shaft. That was his window, the third one from the left, on the floor just below mine. It is dark now. It has been dark for weeks. I don't mean the night. I mean the darkness of a space that has been hollowed out, stripped of the small, weak lights that signify a human being is present. A lamp in the corner, the blue flicker of a television set, the sudden yellow flare of a refrigerator light when the doors opened at 2 a.m. Those things are gone. It is just a square black glass now, reflecting nothing, telling nothing. I never knew his name until the end. I saw it on a piece of mail that had slipped out of the overflowing box in the lobby, lying on the dirty tile floor like a fallen leaf. Arthur. His name was Arthur. It seemed to fit him. A soft name, a name that doesn't demand attention. I suppose I should be talking about him, but I find myself talking about the silence. Since they took him away, the silence in this building has changed texture. Before, it was a shared silence. I knew, in the way one knows the creaks and settlements of an old house, that there was another heart beating just 30 feet away through the brick and the plaster and the gap of the alleyway. There was a rhythm to it. I would sit here, just like this, peeling an orange perhaps, the smell of the citrus sharp in the stale air, and I would look across. I would see his silhouette. He had a routine. We cling to routines, don't we? When the big ambitions fall away, when the calendar stops being a list of obligations and becomes just a sequence of empty squares. The routine is the only scaffolding left. He would wake early. I know this because I wake early. The sleep of the old is thin, like worn fabric. It tears easily. I would hear the faint metallic scrape of his window sash going up. Just 3 inches. He liked fresh air in the morning. I would watch his hand, pale and mottled, resting on the sill for a moment. Just the hand. He rarely looked out. It was just a check, a verification that the world was still there. Then the kettle. I couldn't hear his kettle, of course, but I could see the steam rising if the day was cold enough. A little ghost of vapor escaping that 3-inch gap. And I would think, he is having his tea. And I would go to my own kitchen, my feet shuffling on the linoleum. I need to buy slippers with better grip, I keep telling myself that. And I would put my own water on to boil. It wasn't a connection. That's too strong a word. It was a synchronization, a parallel movement. I wonder if he watched me. I wonder if, on the mornings when my arthritis was bad and I stayed in bed until 9, staring at the cracks in the ceiling, looking for shapes in the plaster. I wonder if he looked up at my window and worried, or if he simply noted the absence of movement, the way one notes a street lamp that is burned out, and went on buttering his toast. I'll never know that. My hand is shaking again, just a tremor in the thumb. I press it against the arm of the chair, against the rough weave of the upholstery. It stops if I apply pressure. The body is a strange machine. It starts to rattle the bolts loose long before the engine fails. He was thinner than me. I noticed that when I saw him in the hallway downstairs. We passed each other perhaps once a week, usually on Tuesdays. Tuesday was flyer day. The grocery store circulars. He would be standing there by the brass mailboxes, holding the bundle of glossy paper. He wore a coat that was too big for him, a gray wool coat, heavy, the kind they don't make anymore. The shoulders drooped. It made him look like a child playing dress-up or like a scarecrow that had been brought inside and forgotten. He would nod, a quick sharp dip of the chin. Afternoon, he might whisper, or maybe just a sound. Afternoon, I would say. And that was it. That was the sum total of our interaction for 5 years. 5 years of breathing the same recycled air, hearing the same sirens pass on the street below, enduring the same heat waves where the brick walls radiated warmth all night long. Afternoon. I think about that coat often now. I think about the weight of it. I wonder if he felt protected inside it, or if it just felt heavy. I have a coat like that in the closet. I haven't worn it in 2 winters. It feels like a burden now, something that requires too much strength to carry. I prefer my cardigan. It has holes in the elbows, but it is light. The tea is definitely undrinkable now. I can see a speck of dust floating on the surface, a tiny gray island. It's amazing how much dust we generate, skin cells mostly. Bits of ourselves falling off, turning into gray fluff in the corners of the room. We slowly disintegrate, turning into dust before we even die. I should sweep the floor tomorrow, if I have the energy. It was a Thursday when the rhythm broke. I remember because I was listening to the radio, a talk show about gardening. I don't have a garden. I haven't had a garden for 30 years, but I like the voices. They sound passionate about soil pH and pruning shears. It's comforting to hear people care about things that grow. I looked out the window around 4 o'clock. That was his time for the news. The blue light usually flickered on then, the television, but the window remained dark. I didn't think much of it. The bulb might have blown. He might have fallen asleep in his chair. I do that often. I sit down to read the paper and wake up an hour later with a stiff neck and the sun having moved across the floor. But then Friday came. Friday morning. No hand on the sash. The window stayed closed. I stood there holding my warm cup, staring at the glass. It looked dirty, streaked with rain from the night before. He's sick, I thought. A flu. He's staying in bed. I went about my day. I have my own routine, you see. I have to take the pills. The blue one for the heart, the white one for the water retention. I have to eat something, even if I'm not hungry. Toast, a soft-boiled egg. I have to wash the plate. I have to wind the clock in the hallway. It's a grandfather clock inherited from a life I barely remember living. It needs winding or it stops, and I can't bear the sound of it stopping. The ticking is the heartbeat of this room. Tick, tick, tick. It divides the time into manageable portions. If it stops, time becomes a stagnant pool, deep and drowning. So I wound the clock. I washed the plate. But my mind kept snagging on the window downstairs. By Saturday, I was worried. But what does one do? I am 82 years old. I don't run up and down stairs. I don't bang on doors. I don't intrude. That is the rule of the city. You don't intrude. You respect the boundaries. The walls are thin, but the social contract is thick like iron. I imagine knocking. I played the scene out in my head while I sat here, rubbing my knee. I would knock. He would open the door, wearing that gray coat perhaps, looking confused. "Is everything all right?" I would ask, and he would look at me with those watery pale eyes. I think they were blue or maybe a washed-out gray, and he would say, "I'm fine. Why are you bothering me?" And I would feel foolish. I would feel like a busybody, an old man with nothing to do but spy on his neighbors. So I didn't knock. I sat in this chair. I watched the window. I watched the darkness. Sunday, the mail was the tell. I went down to the lobby to get my own letter. A bill for the electricity, it's always bills. No one writes letters anymore. And I saw his box. It was a small metal door in a bank of 50. Number 3B, a corner of a yellow flyer was sticking out, and behind it I could see the white edges of envelopes. Compressed, tight. The box was full. It was like a throat choked with paper. I stood there for a long time. The lobby smelled of floor wax and old rain. I reached out a finger and touched the yellow flyer. It was for a pizza place. 2 for 1, it said. 2 for 1. He lived alone. I live alone. We don't need 2 for 1. I went back upstairs. The climb took a long time. I had to stop on the second landing to breathe. My heart was fluttering, a bird caught in a cage. Not from the exertion, I don't think. From the knowledge. I knew then. I think I knew on Thursday, really. But I pushed it away. We become experts at pushing things away, don't we? Unpleasant thoughts. The pain in the left side. The memory of a mistake made 40 years ago. We push them into the closet and lean against the door. But the door is warping. The hinges are groaning. I sat by the window all Sunday afternoon. I didn't turn on my radio. I didn't read. I just watched his window. I was waiting for a miracle, I suppose. A light, a shadow moving. Please, I thought, please just turn on a lamp. If you turn on a lamp, I promise I'll say more than afternoon next time. I'll ask you about the weather. I'll ask you where you bought that coat. Just turn on the light. It stayed dark. Monday morning, the super found him. I didn't hear the discovery. I only heard the aftermath. It wasn't loud. You expect death to be loud. Sirens, screaming, rushing feet. But when it comes for people like us, the quiet ones, the ones in the gray coats, it comes on soft rubber soles. I saw the police car from my window. It didn't use its siren. It just pulled up to the curb, the lights flashing silently. Red, blue, red, blue, bouncing off the wet pavement, painting the brick walls of the alley. The light swept into my room, across my ceiling, a rhythmic pulse. I didn't go down. I couldn't. I stayed here. I gripped the arms of this chair so hard my knuckles turned white, whiter than they usually are. I listened. I heard heavy boots in the hallway, not rushing, just walking, deliberate. I heard the radio chatter, muffled through the floorboards, a burst of static, a voice saying numbers, then later the sound of something heavy being maneuvered, the scrape of metal legs on the stairs, the gurney. It is a terrible sound, the sound of a person becoming an object. Arthur was no longer Arthur. He was a situation. He was a case number. He was a weight to be carried down 3 flights of stairs because the elevator has been broken since 1998. I watched them bring him out. I stood up for that. I forced myself to stand and go to the glass. They had him covered in a dark bag. Maroon, I think, or black. It was hard to tell under the streetlights. It looked so small. He was a tall man. But on the stretcher, strapped down, he looked like nothing. A bundle of laundry. They slid him into the back of a van. Not an ambulance. A plain van. The doors slammed shut. That was the loudest sound of the whole week. That metallic slam. Final. Absolute. And then they drove away. The police car followed, and the street was empty again. The flyer for the pizza was still in his mailbox, I imagined. The window was still dark, but the rhythm was gone. I sat back down. I brewed a pot of tea. This pot, the one that is cold now. I haven't poured it out yet. It has been 3 weeks since then. For the first week, nothing happened. The apartment sat there, behind the door, holding its breath. I imagined the air inside, stale, still holding the smell of his soap, his toast, his old wool coat, the dust settling on the furniture, undisturbed by any breath. Then the relatives came, or maybe the state. I don't know. Men in jeans and t-shirts. They didn't look like they were grieving. They looked like they were working. They propped the door open with a brick. I could hear them from the hallway. Chuck it. Keep this. Look at all this junk. Junk. That's what a life becomes when the heart stops beating. Junk. I walked past the door once, pretending to check my mail. I glanced in. I saw the boxes. Cardboard boxes stacked high. I saw a lamp I recognized. I had seen it through the window. It was just a lamp. Beige shade. Cracked base. I saw books. He read? I didn't know he read. What did he read? Histories, mysteries, westerns. I saw a pair of shoes. Black leather, worn at the heels. They were tossing things into black plastic bags. The same kind of bags I use for my kitchen trash. Clothes, papers, the substance of 70, 80 years. Into the bag. It took them 2 days to empty it. 2 days to erase him. Now the window is not just dark. It is vacant. There are no curtains. When the sun hits it right in the afternoon, I can see through the glass to the back wall. It is painted a pale green. I never knew his walls were green. It looks like an aquarium without water, without fish, just a green box. I catch myself looking for the steam in the morning. I catch myself waiting for the blue flicker at 4 p.m. But there is nothing. And what frightens me, what truly frightens me as I sit here in the gathering gloom, is not that he is dead. We all die. I know this. My body tells me this every day. The ache in the hip, the blur in the left eye, the way names slip out of my mind like wet soap. I am ready for that, in a way. No, what frightens me is how easy it was, how quiet. He slipped out of the world like a bookmark falling out of a book. And the book closed, and the story went on without him. The traffic still moves on the avenue. The radio still talks about gardening. The sun still comes up, indifferent and bright. And I am still here. But for how long? I look around my room. I see my piles of magazines. I see my collection of porcelain birds on the mantelpiece. My wife liked them, and I haven't the heart to move them, though I don't care for them myself. I see the rug with the coffee stain I never managed to get out. I see the future. I see men in t-shirts standing in this room. Chuck it, they will say. Who needs all these birds? Look at this old coat. And they will throw my cardigan into a black bag. And the neighbor upstairs, the young woman who plays music too loud and runs down the stairs 2 at a time. She will walk past the door. She might glance in. She might see the boxes. And she will think, oh, the old guy in 4A is gone. And she will check her phone and keep walking. I am Arthur. Arthur is me. We are just waiting for the van with the silent lights. I feel a sudden, desperate need to make a sound, to prove that I am not a ghost yet. I pick up the spoon and strike it against the side of the ceramic cup. Clink. It is a small sound. Thin, high-pitched. It dies instantly in the heavy curtains. Clink. I do it again. It doesn't make me feel better. It just highlights the silence that swallows it. I wonder what he was thinking in those last moments. Did he know? Did he try to call out? Or did he just sit in his chair, watching the window, watching the light fade and think, it is time? I hope he wasn't afraid. I hope he didn't feel the crushing weight of the solitude. I hope he remembered something beautiful, a face, a landscape, the taste of a good apple. I wish I had knocked. That is the thought that circles in my mind like a moth around a bulb. I wish I had knocked on that Thursday. I wish I had said, Arthur, my name is Robert. I live upstairs. I just wanted to say hello. It wouldn't have saved him. I know that. Death was coming for him regardless. But maybe the silence wouldn't have been so absolute. Maybe he would have known that someone knew his name. Maybe he would have known that he was seen. But I didn't knock. And now the apartment is empty, and my tea is cold, and it is fully night. I need to get up. I need to close the curtains. I don't like looking at the black square of his window anymore. It feels like an unblinking eye staring back at me, asking questions I cannot answer. But my legs feel very heavy, so I will sit for a moment longer. Just a moment. I will listen to the clock. Tick, tick, tick. It sounds louder tonight. Or maybe everything else is just quieter. I will imagine him there, one last time. I will imagine the sash going up, the hand on the sill, the steam rising. Good night, Arthur. Good night. I reach out and turn on the lamp beside me. The light pools on the floor. It is yellow and warm. It is a beacon. If anyone is watching from across the alley, if anyone is looking at my window, they will see the light. They will know someone is here. I am here. I am still here. I take a breath. It rattles a little in my chest. I am still here. The air in the room is cooling. The heating must have cycled off. I can feel the draft coming from the bottom of the window frame. I really should get the masking tape out and seal that crack. I said I would do it in November. It's February now. The procrastination of the old. It's not laziness. It's a calculation of energy versus reward. Is it worth bending down? Is it worth moving the chair? Usually the answer is no. My reflection in the window is clearer now that the lamp is on. I see a white-haired man in a beige cardigan. He looks tired. The skin hangs a bit loose around the jaw. The eyes are shadowed. I look at him. He looks at me. We are both surprised to still be around. I wonder if I should get a cat. The thought comes out of nowhere. I haven't had a pet since the dog died 12 years ago. Buster, a terrier mix, noisy little thing. A cat would be quiet. A cat would sleep on the radiator. A cat would be a heartbeat. But then, what if I go first? What happens to the cat? Does it wait? Does it starve? Does the super find it when they break down the door? No, that's not fair. It's better to be alone than to leave something behind that cannot understand why you left. My hand brushes the pile of magazines on the side table. National Geographic, Reader's Digest. Some of them are years old. I keep meaning to read the articles about the melting glaciers, but the print is so small and the pictures make me sad. The world is changing so fast. It is melting and burning and speeding up. And here in this room, time feels like molasses. Thick, slow. Arthur probably had magazines too. I wonder where they are now. A landfill, presumably, or a recycling center. Pulped, turned into new paper. Maybe into a flyer for pizza. The cycle is efficient. Ruthless, but efficient. I should eat something. It's past 7. I'm not hungry. But the body needs fuel. If I don't eat, I get dizzy. If I get dizzy, I fall. If I fall, well, that's the end. The hip breaks, the hospital, the pneumonia, the exit. So I must eat. A piece of toast, maybe some soup. I have a can of tomato soup. It feels like a monumental task. Opening the can, pouring it, stirring it. But I will do it, because the alternative is the dark window. I push myself up. The chair groans. My knees pop. A sharp twinge in the lower back. Standard operating procedure. I stand steady for a moment, hand on the chair back, letting the blood pressure equalize. 1, 2, 3. Okay. I walk to the window one last time before I pull the drapes. I look down at the alley. A cat, a real cat, not the one in my head, is walking along the top of the brick wall. A stray, ragged ears. It stops and looks up. I see its eyes reflect the street lamp. Green sparks. It looks at me. I look at it. We share a moment. 2 survivors in the concrete canyon. Then it turns and slips into the shadows. I pull the curtains. The heavy fabric slides on the rod. Swish. The world is gone. The neighbor is gone. The darkness is shut out. Now it is just me. And the room. And the clock. And the can of soup waiting in the cupboard. I shuffle toward the kitchen. My slippers scuff against the floor. Scuff. Scuff. I am making noise. I am making a mark. I am going to heat the soup. I am going to eat it at the small table. I am going to wash the bowl. I am going to continue. For Arthur. For me. For the quiet ones. I turn on the kitchen light. The fluorescent tube flickers, buzzes, then holds. A hum. A steady electric hum. It's not a beautiful sound, but it's a sound. And for tonight, that is enough.